Zuma must fall. Zuma must fall. Zuma must fall. Zuma must fall.
I do take note
Zuma
that
must fall.
the whole...
The year is 2016. Cape Town, Parliament. The State of the Nation address. Normally a grand affair where power dresses in its Sunday best and the president lays out the year's plans. But tonight, the red carpet is stained with tension. The chamber, once symbolic of order and democracy, has become a battleground. At the center of the chaos, the economic freedom fighters, disruptive, defiant, dressed in red. But this wasn't just noise, this was revenge. Just a few years earlier, these same firebrands were rising stars in the ANC Youth League until Jacob Zuma had them expelled. They dared to oppose his grip on the presidency. He crushed them, or so he thought. Now, they were back, louder, angrier, more dangerous. And Zuma, once the architect of their downfall, was being humiliated minute by minute on live television. But Jacob Zuma is not a man who forgets. He doesn't forgive, and he never plays for a draw. This was now personal, 1-1 on the scoreboard, and Zuma was already plotting the next move. He would not just silence his enemies. He would dismantle their power at the root, break their unity, poison their alliances, and make sure they never came back as a force again. This is not just a story about a speech. This is the story of a political vendetta, and the cunning of a man who knew how to play the long game.
If I were you can take me to court. You can nami ngiyakhuluma.
He's answering you, Honorable Malema. Point of order.
This comrade I've known from when he was very young in the ANC Youth League. His politics, which I defy as scientific politics.
Noma ngabe uzazi ukuthi umkhulu uyathandwa uyikho konke, we don't care.
To understand the war between Jacob Zuma and the red-clad disruptors of Parliament, you have to rewind to a moment of political miscalculation. When the ANC expelled Julius Malema and the leadership of its youth league, it believed it was cutting out a liability, a loud, reckless faction, a distraction. It wasn't. It was releasing a storm. There are two types of politicians, those who rise because of the party's brand and those who become the brand. Julius Malema, like Zuma himself, didn't need the ANC to command a crowd. He had the one thing you can't buy, raw political charisma. The ANC failed to see that. They believed that once Malema was outside the party, he'd fade. Instead, he ignited. The expelled Youth League formed a new movement, the Economic Freedom Fighters, and in their very first national election, they clawed 6% of the ANC's vote. But that wasn't their endgame. They didn't just want to weaken the ANC, they came for its king. Every time Zuma entered Parliament, the EFF turned the chamber into a battlefield. Disruption was the strategy, chaos was the language, and humiliation was the goal. Pay back the money. It echoed across the country like a courtroom chant, and Zuma, surrounded by scandals, gave them all the ammunition they needed. By the 2016 local government elections, the ANC lost 3 key metros, Johannesburg, Tshwane, and Nelson Mandela Bay. For the first time, the once dominant ANC needed help to govern. The EFF had become kingmakers, and they made their terms crystal clear. Zuma must go. They didn't join the ANC, they blocked it. And their refusal wasn't just political, it was deeply personal. They weren't just challenging the party that expelled them, they were punishing the man who presided over it. Inside the ANC, Zuma's grip was already loosening. His party was divided. The tripartite alliance was crumbling. Even his comrades were starting to look elsewhere. Then came December 2017, the ANC elective conference. Zuma's faction lost. 2 months later, he was removed as president of the country. Now let's be fair, the EFF didn't bring him down alone, but they were relentless. They embarrassed him, they weakened him, they made sure that every scandal stuck, in parliament, on TV, in the streets. And then, something strange happened. Years later, after all the chaos, the walkouts, the shouting matches, Julius Malema had tea with Jacob Zuma at Nkandla, not as enemies, not quite as allies, but as men who had once gone to war and perhaps realized the war was over, or maybe just paused.